Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Report, Week 6. How's it going, Hasan? Week 6. What can we say?
Well, we made it. It's another. Well, I don't know, man. NFL, but with scoring seems like a pretty good idea. But I'm actually really excited for our guest first time podcast appearance. Angad Uppal's on the show with us. Angad, how's it going, man?
Hey,
I'm good.
good. How are you guys?
Doing great. This is, for me anyway, kind of a rare week where a lot of my fantasy teams are looking pretty good.
No,
Jamar,
they are not. Well,
No, for me
maybe
as well.
except for the one with that I'm in with Hasan, because I'm sure all his teams are terrible, but mine are good.
yours are not good, and mine are not good. No one's are good. There's no scoring happening. Like what? Like, are you winning your matchups like 60-59? Like, what is going on?
I am getting so lucky in a lot of matchups. I'll tell you what. Um,
Um,
I'm winning. I'm currently winning. Oh, never mind.
I
This is
told you.
like I'm winning because
This is
this is the all play week in main events, so it looks
yeah,
like
exactly.
a matchup.
You look like you're doing a lot better than you are.
Oh, never mind. All right, my teams are terrible too.
It's, there are no good teams, like fantasy teams and real life NFL teams. Um,
Yeah,
but you know who might actually be good? Travis Etienne. He had 10 rushes for 86 yards, and he got 2 catches for 20 yards. Don't mind the Jaguars; they're actually bad. They lost to the
yeah.
Colts. This is a bad team. So, Angad, what are your thoughts on Etienne's value moving forward? Has he, is this his backfield? Is it still a split with J. Rob? What are your thoughts?
So funny enough, Etienne was actually the first player that I wrote up in the week one buy low report. Just because he actually I think had the most of the two snaps between him and J Rob in week one, and then slowly he's actually over the last few weeks taken on more and more of the lion's share of the role. So I think going forward, it's wheels up for ETN. I think J Rob is still going to play a part, obviously, but I think we can pretty comfortably start ETN comfortably.
I like that. Yeah, we started him in a main event team. The touchdowns are gonna come, Blair. What do you think?
I agree. The touchdowns are going to come. I think he's been putting up these kind of pretty crazy efficiency rushing days for a long time, at least in terms of yardage. So the touchdowns will
Actually,
follow.
actually, Lawrence vultured
Yeah,
two rushing touchdowns today from 1 and 2
yeah.
yards out. So not ideal for the running backs, but that's probably not going to happen often.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I mean, realistically, Lawrence had. How do I put this? A fucking miserable day, right? Like he had he completed 20 of his 22 attempts, 165 yards and a score. Maybe this actually says more about the Jaguars' receiving core, right? Like with Zay Jones leading, and then Evan Ingram. I don't know. And we do know like Lawrence has wheels, right? 6 guys for 23 yards and 2 scores. That's impressive in and of itself. It's just maybe it's emblematic of the Jags, but I'm also still very much not convinced that Trevor Lawrence is who people thought he was, right? Like a lot of people are anchoring to this Trevor Lawrence that they saw one time in Clemson from years ago, and no one seems to have gotten off that evaluation. And I think that is the one where I'm still a little frustrated at because you see people who are very quick to say XYZ quarterback is bad, YYZ quarterback is bad, yet everyone is still anchoring on an eval of Trevor Lawrence for a player whose upside I don't think was ever realistically there. And then add that to the fact that we've never seen him do anything spectacular in like an NFL game to where I'm willing to really like like he's probably going to be a serviceable NFL quarterback. So I'm saying he's good. I just don't think that the pricing for him in Dynasty especially ever lined up with what his actual value is.
Yeah, I know for me, when I was watching him post Urban Meyer last year, there were definitely some throws where, I could say like, oh, okay, there's something there. Like now I actually see the talent of why this person went number one overall, but I didn't see it consistently. And I'm sorry, I forget which RotoViz writer it was, but whoever did the year two outlook for Trevor Lawrence, I think actually pointed out that no prospect, that was drafted that high early had that poor of a season and bounced back in their NFL career. And I think, so many people were just chalking it up to the Urban Meyer situation, but even post Urban Meyer, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point about his receiving weapons is a fair one. I mean, arguably his receivers now are worse than they were at Clemson, wouldn't you say? When you're throwing to T. Higgins and
Yeah.
Renfro, it's
but I mean, like that's like true of like most NFL quarterbacks, right? Like, I mean, look at Burrow. Like, he's no longer throwing to Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, right? But he is getting Higgins and Chase, right? So that's fine.
It's not the best example.
So it's not the best example. I think the best example of that is going to be he's going to declare this year. It's going to be C.J. Stroud from Ohio State, just because of every good quarterback that has played. Every good wide receiver that he's played with.
He's going to get Drake London and Kyle Pitts, though.
Yeah, that's right. Speaking of Drake London, he had 3 or 4 targets today, and he caught those for 40 yards in the Falcons' week 6 win over the Niners. So, boys, I think like, what shocked you more? Was it like the Falcons beating the Niners, or Kyle Pitts scoring a touchdown?
Honestly, both, because I think going into the game, I had heard so much was made of how San Francisco had not allowed 30 yards to the tight end position yet this year. Still have not. But I mean, that guy. I mean, I'm so high on Kyle Pitts, so you're not going to get a realistic answer out of me. He's probably my favorite, young player to watch in the NFL. I'm shocked that they won. It's surprising that they continue to play their low pass numbers and still, pull out yet another victory. I'm surprised that they're at 3 wins, but here we are.
I was actually kind of impressed at the fact that they let Mariota throw a little bit in this game. I think that really helped for Drake London. It was just a tough game for the Niners and just a tough L for them. I mean, they got curb stomp, really. But the guy, the other guy who don't have on the show sheet, who I thought did really well. Well, I've got George Kittle here, so we can discuss him a little bit. Would be, we're still chasing the myth that was George Kittle. He caught 8 of his 10 targets for 83 yards today. Blair, do you think we've turned the corner here with this spotty Kittle usage, or what do you think?
I think that still, I don't know. I'll still probably be chasing Kittle. I think this is a good sign if you own him that he got these 10 targets. And, obviously I don't think Garoppolo is going to throw 41 passes every game, but I like what I saw from the San Francisco receivers.
Yeah. It was nice to see them. We know how good these weapons are, right? And it was nice to see them actually put them all on display. Ayuk with 2 touchdowns as well today. So, I mean, Kittle, obviously he's great. And, at tight end, like realistically, who else? Like, let's say the George Kittle manager, who realistically are they starting over him at this point? So it might just be one of those situations where you just got to roll with Kittle. And I think I saw that, the first game without Trent Williams, they were definitely using him more as a blocker. Hopefully, when Trent Williams returns, he'll be out more in the passing game as well.
I don't know if it's a when or if it's an if, but yeah, I think like the Niners. Part of the issue that I think that we have with the Niners in general is that defense is good, right?
Yeah.
And they tend to keep games close. I think you're going to see a lot more of these when the Niners fall into negative script. That's when you're going to get a lot more of this throwing stuff. I mean, look, I'm going to be the first guy to tell you all, like, I don't want to see Jimmy Garoppolo unleashed because it's like it's not pretty, but like this is what we need, right? For Ayuk. I mean, because he went off today too. He had 8 catches as well, 86 yards, I believe, and 2 touchdowns. The two touchdowns are massive. And Debo got there too, right? So you're looking at a team that we really do need to struggle and really have to be put in a position where they have to play fast.
Yeah.
I know I'm bouncing around a little bit, but I wanted to go back to that Jags game because on the other side, it looks like Michael Pittman's fully back. He got 13 of his 16 targets for 134 yards. Do any of you guys have any notes on the Colts side for this game, except for or why Deion Jackson? Might any of you guys have any takes on Deion Jackson stealing some of the passing work from Nyheim Hines going forward?
I mean, after today, you almost have to kind of think it could be a possibility. Although it does, it maybe seems a little far fetched or a little, not necessarily the most likely outcome. But I think, considering how much work he got, yeah, that could definitely happen.
Yeah.
So I know Deion left the game today. I don't know how severe the injury is, but how much of this are you guys chalking up to no Taylor, no Hines? So obviously, they have to use the remaining weapons, which is Pittman. I think Pierce also found the end zone today. Deion obviously had the massive game.
And Kylan Granson went off.
Yeah. So
Kylan Granson and Jelani Woods, baby.
What do you guys think? Do you guys think this is sustainable, or do you think this is just because Taylor and Hines are out?
I genuinely think this is primarily just an end result of what happens when you play the Jags. I just don't think that this Jaguars defense is really it doesn't have any teeth. They really are known for giving up tons of points on the ground, right? And so these are teams that got there on the ground, and then they're also going to get there, through the air. Like you can attack them multiple ways, and they're going to get there all the time. So I don't think that there's any of that kind of fear, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely was because there was no Taylor and no Hines. But at the same time, when you have a guy, catching 10 passes for 79 yards, 42 on the ground for a touchdown, including a touchdown, then it kind of makes you think, hey, maybe we can use this guy more than we have been.
Yeah, but it's really frustrating that they don't use JT in this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
It brings back like the question of like Derrick Henry, he's getting this ludicrous target share now, and it only took them 5 years in his second contract to unleash him. Here's the thing for listeners at home who are old enough to remember the old days of RotoViz. We were very, very optimistic on Derrick Henry as a prospect. I mean, if you walked into the writer's room and you said one bad thing about Derrick Henry back in those days, I think you'd have a horde descend on you. Like, legitimately, we were very possessive of him, and it took a while for us to start slowly phasing him out as a potential, 3-down Uber back prospect profile kind of guy, because we took a long time to adjust our priors on that one. And now it's really difficult to like look at this thesis come true only like half a decade later there.
Yeah, I mean, well, we don't have to talk much about Derrick Henry since he didn't play this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just remembering the good times, man.
No. Yeah, it's good because it's funny because he's a guy who wasn't a pass catcher in college either, and you can always kind of rationalize, he didn't do it in college, but that doesn't really mean anything about the pros, and the way we did with Kenneth Walker this year, or
right. Walker wasn't getting any of the receiving in college, but clearly he can still be involved in the passing game.
Speaking of Kenneth Walker, so the Cardinals Seahawks game just finished in what would surprise absolutely no one, I'm sure. The Cardinals lost to the Seahawks. Cliff Kingsbury is a savant, man. He is just so talented. 3 field goals. I'm just so in shock and awe. Anyway, so Kenneth Walker carried the ball 21 times for 97 yards and a touchdown. And he also got 2 of his 3 passes for 13 yards. So, with Rashad Penny completely out of the picture, sadly, and we're here hoping for a speedy recovery. They just went completely, took the chains off of Walker, and he's looked legitimately very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what. I mean, so I don't play in any leagues where Walker was available, but for the people that did and the people that unloaded all of their fab on him, this is what you wanted, right? You got it. We expect the Seahawks to continue to be heavy rushers as they have been previously, and all the workload is going to go to this back, who is an excellent prospect. So hopefully this is a sign of more to come.
Yeah, definitely. Don't have anything to add on Walker, but I do want to talk about another guy in this game. Noah Fant led the way with 7 targets, where it was tied with the team lead. He's someone that I drafted a ton of, and Walker too. But do we think this is for real, Noah Fant?
I mean, when you look at it, so this game was not on TV for me. Everything's been blacked out. It's only Buffalo, Kansas City. I think he kind of is, right? Like, he's sort of seen up and down usage. He's gonna. I mean, they're throwing their tight ends, right? Like, so either it's gonna be Fant or it's gonna be Will Disley. Talk about sadness, guys. So that's real Sophie's choice. But I mean, those are the 2 flavors, right? Like, you got there at tight end. I'm optimistic on Fant. I don't know if he's going to be flex worthy going forward. I do like him, like, especially in best ball, if like that's where you're talking about, Blair. Like, was it best ball you're discussing?
No.
Oh no. Oh.
Yeah, you redraft.
No, that makes it even worse. Yeah, best ball
makes it even worse.
Of course, bench. I mean, he only scored 10.5 points, so it's not like you needed him. But
yeah, I mean, I just think, like, given the state of the tight end position right now in fantasy, this is an encouraging sign, right? To have somebody else be relevant and start worthy, and massively out targeting Metcalf and Lockett today, right?
Yeah, same number of targets as Metcalf, but
okay.
But yeah,
but more efficient. Yeah.
Yeah. And way more efficient. I guess the one game that I did see part of that we should talk about is the Ravens lost to the Giants Mark Andrews had
Whoa.
about 11 targets for 106 yards and a touchdown. He's good all the time, but I mean, this Ravens team is giving me some headaches many weeks. If you started Lamar this week, you probably are pretty frustrated. Hasan,
Yeah.
I know all your Devin Duvernay teams are probably not doing too well.
Yeah, it's just like last year. What else is new? Yeah, and I'm actually gonna throw it to Angad because I wanted to talk a little bit. I mean, like we know Mark Andrews is a stud, right? But like the rest of these guys did really nothing for the team, right? Demarcus Robinson, Devin Duvernay, nothing. Jalen Wallace is getting on the field, nothing. They sorely miss Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, I think so too. It was also weird though when Bateman was healthy, he wasn't playing all of the snaps. I don't know if that's just because he was coming off of the injury plagued season last year because it's his second year, he's still young. But we saw what he can do when he gets the ball. Very, very talented, amazing prospect. It's rare that the Ravens use a first-round pick on a receiver. I think he might have been the first one.
Well, Marquise.
Marquise, that's right. Yeah, and then they traded him away. But as far as the game went, this game, the Ravens really had this game won, and then at the end it was Lamar who. You're up by 3. You have the ball. Just you need to protect the ball, and he throws an interception. The Giants, go down the field and score. And then when the Ravens get the ball back, he fumbles. So, real football talk. Lamar is trying to, get his money and prove himself. I understand that, but in that situation, I think you just gotta protect the ball, especially when you're, without a dynamic playmaker in Rashad Bateman. That's costing fantasy managers 4 points right there, just the end of the game.
Yeah, no, I like the way you looked at it, thought about it. Because the other guy I want to talk a little bit about was Dolly Robinson, who caught 3 of his 4 targets for 37 yards and a score. He's back. Just looking at the Giants, they're still rolling out. I can't believe I'm going to say this. They're still rolling out David Sills and Rich James. All right.
Yeah.
And something called Marcus Johnson mixed in too.
And Darius Slayton.
He's just a zombie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate that the team that the Ravens lost to the Giants, but Wandale, it's really wheels up for him, right? Like Kadarius Toney is persona non grata. I don't know what I don't think he's practiced at all this year. How are we feeling there?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm here for Wandale. Only 4 targets today, but he really did look good on a couple of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did. I watched this game in full. Actually at one of my family friends' house. Shout out to the Archibald family for hosting. So he played very well on 3rd down. He had a big grab. That was his first catch, and then he had the touchdown. Basically a nice crossing route, and then took it upfield for a short score. And he looked good. He looked explosive, and this is exactly what we wanted to see. This guy was going so late in drafts, and this was the hope, right? Was that he could emerge. And this was his first game. This was his debut. So hopefully as he gets, more practice, more reps in, the hope is that he can be a consistent starter for fantasy managers.
I mean, I know I want that.
I assume he's probably, by now he's probably not owned on a lot of leagues. And I mean,
Yeah.
Given the state of this receiving core, you could see him becoming the wide receiver one without too much,
How much resistance? Yeah, at all, if any.
Yeah, I didn't start him in one place that I was actually debating between him and Elijah Moore. And I ended up starting. I know. It looks like I will still win as long as Russ and Judy come through, but who knows these days? But yeah, I legitimately thought about starting Wandale over Elijah, but I just thought to myself, I don't know about this Giants coaching staff, and I just need to see it, once before making that move. And I think next week in that league, I'm going to have to start Wandale over Elijah.
Yeah. That's
Bill next week. So that could be
I didn't realize when Dolly was back this week, and so I dropped him for a fill-in tight end, but I'm going to be probably spending a lot of FOB to try to bring him back.
Before we move on from this game, it sounds like Dobbins may have something happen with his knee.
Yeah, unfortunate.
And anyway, Drake had a big game. I mean, if Dobbins misses any more time, is Drake someone you feel comfortable? I don't know, even starting?
No, he almost destroyed me in a league this week. I started Dobbins over ETN just because that matchup against the Giants is good, right? If you want any proof on that, Kenyon Drake absolutely carved him up like a Thanksgiving turkey, or I guess a pumpkin because we're close to Halloween, right? Like he just destroyed them through the air and on the ground. Like Kenyon Drake had 10 carries, 119 yards in a score. The Giants have been bleeding points to the running back position. And this was like I was optimistic this was Dobbins' breakout week, right? Like transfer that stat line to Dobbins. So it is unfortunate that he got hurt.
Yeah.
Angad, what are your thoughts on Dobbins here going forward? And what's his what do you do?
Yeah, I was a huge Dobbins fan going into the season. Actually, in best ball, he's my highest owned running back percentage. So, that Bills game really showed his potential, right? Limited snaps, and he scored 2 touchdowns. And ever since, it's been these, the injury has creeped back up. I've never been a Kenyon Drake fan. My friends will, they'll know my rants about Kenyon Drake, and I'm tired of the Ravens going to these deadbeat old backs of Mike Davis and Kenyon Drake. But, the Ravens did make Deonta Foreman fantasy relevant last season, right? So I think just any running back in this offense getting that type of volume, low-end RB2, high-end RB3, I guess, if you really need it, especially for, drafters like us that go wide receiver heavy. But, my hope is that Justice Hill comes back soon and healthy. And, he looked very explosive when he got the opportunities in the I think it was, 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully this injury is not too bad, or this re-injury.
It's a little concerning and a little sad, right?
Is what
it is.
He's had such a tough road to recovery here. I just feel bad for the guy.
As far as your question about what to do, I mean, for us, a lot of our teams, we don't have a lot of that running back firepower. So, if you're really in a tough spot, you may need to start him. But, I mean, if you're going to, hopefully you can start Eno over him next week, right?
Oh, man. As much as I want Eno to be a thing, I mean, the entire Cardinals' offense is so at sea. Eno did not, he had 15 carries for 33 yards today.
Yeah. Or like, what about, what do you do with, this Denver backfield too? Like Gordon and Boone.
Probably just gotta play Gordon and pray.
Pray. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Eno was the guy that I was so excited for this week, and he didn't. I mean, I guess he didn't have a terrible game. 9.5 fantasy points. He did catch 3 passes for 28 yards, but and he was getting a lot of touches. I mean, 18 total opportunities. So that's nice to see, but obviously this offense has some problems with efficiency that is going to be going to be a problem for any running back there.
Yeah, let's just hope when DeAndre comes back next week, things will open up for everybody.
Yeah, but to that end, the other guy who got hurt today was Hollywood Brown. I believe he like a defender fell on his leg, right?
Yeah.
I'm really hoping it's nothing serious. And he was removed as a precaution.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the report that I saw said that he had to be helped to the locker room with help on both sides of him. So.
Yikes.
Yeah. I did want to talk a little bit about a running back who, we love here and is on the Patriots. Ramondre Stevenson rushed 19-10 for 76 yards and 2 scores in the Patriots' Week 6 win over the Browns. He also had 4 catches for 15 yards. Boys, absolute full package unit. Am I right?
Yeah, he's exciting. Yeah, I mean it's kind of surprising to see the team playing this well with Bailey Zappi at quarterback, but
Bailey Zappi honestly looks a little bit like Mac Jones. So, I couldn't pick him out of a lineup, man. They're the same guy.
Well, the other thing we got to see, which I don't know how much Zappi had to do with it, but Tyquan Thornton had a touchdown.
Yeah, he did.
I think he had 2 touchdowns. He had 1.
Oh, right. He had a rushing touchdown too. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's exciting. But Ramondre absolutely smashed today. I'm very happy. I actually have him in he was one of my priority targets, like rounds, 7 when I was going heavy wide receivers in the early rounds, or, round 6, I forget where it was. But yeah, he was one of my high priorities, and it feels good to have this performance, especially today. And you can never really trust Coach Belichick and what he's going to do. If and when Damian Harris comes back, but this is very encouraging. And if there's ever a sign for someone in New England to get the workload going forward, this is certainly the performance you were hoping for.
Yeah, and just to build off of this running back onto another running back, Breece Hall today rushed 20 times for 116 yards in the Jackson's Week 6 win over the Packers. He also had 2 catches for 5 yards. We talked about him extensively last week. Blair, where do you have him ranked now in Dynasty? Well, in redraft.
Running back 1.
Even in redraft.
Wow.
Let me think. Who are you going to put ahead of him?
Saquon, CMC had a big game.
CMC did have a big game, and Saquon looked good. I mean, but you have to have Breece in that conversation, I think.
Yeah, I think it's got to go Barkley, CMC, and then that next group of 3 would be Breece Hall, probably Eckler, and then maybe even pushing Ramondre now. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, like it's just sad how fast JT's stock is created, right?
Yeah.
That's been the tough one.
Yeah, anyone who's currently injured is hard to have as like a top-ranked guy in
Yeah.
redraft. Even though like I expect him to come back next week and probably be fine, but there's just a lot more uncertainty I think with that you have to be kind of cautious. And if you are if you are looking to make deals, I don't think that it's wrong to trade Taylor now when he's hurt to try and get someone who's going to give you production right away, even if
Yes.
in a vacuum or like in dynasty or in terms of talent, it might be a slight downgrade. I think that's actually not a terrible move.
Yeah, definitely situation dependent, depending on your record.
For sure.
I actually wrote him up in the buy low report this past week, thinking and hoping he would play this week. But I looked at it and I think so. Like weeks 1 through 4 last season, he was RB 20, and then this season through 4 weeks, he was RB 21. Obviously, he hasn't played the last 2 weeks. But that just goes to show you what kind of run he went on at the end of last season. And I'm no injury expert. I don't know how bad this injury is or how it's going to affect him going forward. But if he takes the proper time to rehab, you're betting on talent, right? And what you saw last season and even the season before, I think he got off to a slow start. He was initially behind Marlon Mack, and then he ran away with incredible numbers during his rookie season. So I think if you're looking to trade for him, it's a great opportunity, and you just have to be betting on that immense talent that he has.
Yeah, I mean, just speaking a little bit about disappointing highly drafted running backs. Aaron Jones carried the ball 9 times for 19 yards, and he also caught 3 of his 4 targets for 25 yards. I mean, this is a guy who got really, really, really steamed up in the offseason. I guess now you kind of sunk when you're starting him. Like he hasn't had a vintage Aaron Jones game that we haven't seen that from him at all this year. And actually, the guy who we're seeing a lot of that more out of, albeit interestingly enough, also through the receiving game, is AJ Dillon, who rushed 10 times for 41 yards, but he also caught 4. He had 4 receptions for 11 yards. Not a banner day for Green Bay at all. They kind of like the Jets didn't have to do a lot, and they just handily dispatched the Packers. In fact, Aaron Rodgers actually got pulled for Jordan Love at the end of this game. So I guess the question is twofold. Really, like, is Aaron Jones gonna pay off his high draft cost? And what can be done? Like, what are you doing with Green Bay?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Aaron Jones can pay off at this cost as long as you have Dillon getting actually more touches, more carries, and more targets.
Yep.
So, Dillon was another guy who was like kind of like Henry, who didn't do it in college. But at least this year, we've actually seen that, they do want to use him that way. And prior to today, he's been actually pretty, excuse me, he's been pretty good in the receiving game. But yeah, I think it's going to be hard for Aaron Jones to really reward people who took him in the 3rd round when he's not getting these opportunities, and when Green Bay's offense seems so lost. I mean, the one good thing, I guess, is that Romeo Doubs had 9 targets.
Yeah, I did nothing with him.
Yeah, I think you just have to hope with Dobbs at least that they continue to build the chemistry, and like Robert Tonyan is the one who's leading this team in receiving today. So the thesis for people who took Jones in the 2nd round was that he was going to like people were talking about how without Devontae, he's an incredible receiver. It's just not what we're seeing at all right now, and so I don't think he can, pull off this. He's not going to live up to his second round or even third round draft capital. I think also just a dynasty note. I remember seeing something in the off season where his contract is very team friendly. Like it's very easy for them to cut him at the end of this season. So I think you might even want to be buying Dylan wherever you can in Dynasty.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good note. Yeah, but we've also seen a lot of people talk about Aaron Jones being gone. Like I know a lot of guys are like saying Aaron Jones is going to be gone years ago. It never happened.
Yeah.
Sticking in the AFC East, the next guy I want to talk about is like this blast from the past, I guess. Mike Gesicki. I almost forgot he was still an actual pass catcher. 6 for 7 targets, 69 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Dolphins kind of looked like they were going to just be phasing him out completely, using him as a blocker. And then he comes and has 7 targets. Is he someone we can trust going forward? What do you think?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I'm very high on these two receivers. Obviously Waddle and Tyreek, like they make this. Just look at their stat lines. Like Tyreek, 12 receptions, 177 yards. Waddle, 6 and 129.
And no touchdowns for either of them.
Yeah. So like
Bums.
how much of this is, fluky one game? I think Tua is expected back next week. So is this just a thing for, with Bridgewater, or is this sustainable? I don't think it's sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, Tua's back, right? So I'm gonna be interested to see what they do with Gesicki in that regard with the real quarterback under center. Just as a note, I mean, Tyreek Hill's absolutely crushing it this year, and like his stat line is ludicrous. He just keeps going off. On the other side, the guy who also continues to go off is Adam Thielen. Although at like a less frenetic pace, he caught 4 of his 8 targets for 36 yards in a score. He always seems to score these touchdowns, man.
Yeah.
You have an interesting definition of going off.
Yeah.
It's scoring the touchdowns, man. Like it's just like that's really like the beef of like fantasy scoring, and it's really frustrating because Justin Jefferson is just so elite and he's not getting there. I mean, Dalvin Cook got there today on one long run.
Yeah.
Like what, 80% of his yards, 85% of his yards came on that one long run.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
53 yard carry. Yeah.
Well, 70%. All right. Well, more like 69%. 69%. We're gonna have to slap the mature filter on this one, boys. But yeah. But it's just.
Yeah.
God, I hate the Vikings as a team, man. I just don't understand them.
You look at. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Blair.
I was just saying, you look at Thielen's stat line, and you look at what Irv Smith did, and you kind of say, "Oh, I get it. Thielen's just another tight end." You really, I think, would like to see them just use Jefferson more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that like in the off season? Weren't we hearing like, "Oh, he's going to be our Cooper Kupp," and unfortunately, it's just not happening. Even though clearly the talent is immense, but Thielen's always gonna vulture those touchdowns, it seems.
Well, on the bright side, the only small win I'm going to take away from this is at least my feed isn't full of the same people who were doubting the living hell out of Thielen 2 years ago, still doubting him.
I was just looking. Jefferson hasn't scored a touchdown since week 1. I didn't even realize that. Well,
I think he had a rushing, against New
Week
Orleans, right?
Yeah, you're right. But still, a receiving touchdown. He had 2 in week 1 and doesn't have any since.
I mean, it's gonna come. It's gonna come. He gets so much volume through the air. Like touchdowns are so fluky. We know this. They're random. They're a random event. It's just look. At risk of sounding very cliche, maybe Jefferson has this like scoring outburst down the stretch, right?
Yeah,
because like he's getting so much volume, and like it's just a matter of like when you get that like those TDs, and like it could come down the line,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I agree that it's mostly fluky, mostly random. I do think there is some kind of player skill involved in that, and
I mean,
had seasons where he's been able to score a lot of touchdowns. I don't know that it's necessarily him.
I mean, if you want to get more like football guy hand in the dirt take, like realistically, the Vikings keep using Thielen, like why people were so optimistic about him, and why they misconstrued his talent with scoring touchdowns with actual skill, is because the Vikings just used him as a tight end, and he would be lined up on these slower linebackers, and he was just able to make those routine plays, and he was able to get to the hole and do all the fun things that you would think that like just a white slot wide receiver would do, right? Like what did Julian Edelman do, or what did Wes Welker do? And like I hate drawing that as an actual connotation, but like he was just a bigger version of those two guys, and he was very, very good in the red zone.
Yeah,
like it was just like that was that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking of a guy who's like an amalgam of Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, maybe George Pickens had 6 targets.
Yeah.
Only 27 yards.
Did you guys watch this game?
No,
I didn't. I'm also interested to see how many of them came with Pickett and how many of them came with Trubisky, because I know actually Pickett had to leave in the third quarter of this game.
I think most of them came with Pickett under center. Trubisky very aggressively targeted Chase Claypool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not too surprising. Kind of, we saw Pickett in his kind of most of his, almost 2 full games of action that he was looking Pickens' way a lot more than Trubisky was earlier in the season.
Yeah. It's just Pickett really was like wasn't asked to do a lot, but I think this kid's gonna be like a star, man.
Really? You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think about? So I've heard a lot of like conversation about whether he can support, if he can support 3 relevant receivers in this offense, and I think, a lot of people think, okay, it'll be there for Deontay, it'll be there for Pickens.
Chase is probably going to be the one left out.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, this is more of like a random event. Like this is like his best output in a while.
All right. And how much of this had to do with Freiermuth not being there as well?
I think a lot of that has to do with Freiermuth not being there. Zach Gentry did not see any work at all, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
one catch.
It's hard to take away a lot from this game, if only because Pickett did leave, right? But like he did look very much in control. Tampa Bay really just sort of beat themselves. What really confused me was Mike Evans' stat line. So he had 4 targets, caught all 4 for 42 yards. But there was like a very long stretch, a very long period where they were targeting Russell Gage liberally, Cade Otton liberally. There is zero reason, like none, for Leonard Fournette to get 6 targets ever again. He did not look particularly good. Like I'll be honest, the commenters were talking about it on TV, like just saying, like Leonard Fournette has not looked like he has last season. How much of this is just growing pains under a brand new coach, no more Arians, and then how much of it is just like, yeah, man, Brady dust.
Yeah, I don't know that you can say he's dust. Certainly not playing as well as he has the last, couple years in Tampa. So I don't know. It could be a coaching thing. I didn't really think too much about that. I just thought, with Leftwich there, things would be kind of continuous. But that's a good point. There's really, Godwin today, 12 targets. That's exciting for him. So I think you just have to hope that something is out of funk here and they can bounce back. Like, we know how explosive this offense can be. But if we see this for a couple more weeks here, then maybe your Brady is dust take or question could be very valid.
It's sad, right? But Father Time comes for us all.
Yeah. You definitely don't want to be too late on these kind of calls. And you're talking about, making actual fantasy football decisions. I mean, it's kind of tricky because this receiving core has been so banged up this year. Even Godwin, I guess I don't even know if he's fully healthy, but he did look good today. Yeah, when you're talking about
Actually, like Hasan, now that I'm thinking about it, like Pittsburgh got absolutely routed by Buffalo, and then
Yep.
Atlanta today, the 49ers, yeah, they lost, but they were still able to put, forth some really, like, a lot of passing yards on them. So it is concerning that Brady and this offense haven't been able to figure it out against these two teams in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, you would think that they would have been able to. So, like, the spread for this game was Pittsburgh were home dogs, were 9.5-point underdogs, and they won the game outright.
Right.
So this was like a surprise, like pretty much probably wrecked survivor pools everywhere. I can tell you, like, everyone was shocked. I mean, even when like Trubisky came in and he tried to throw the game away, right? Like, but like Chase Claypool legitimately did not let him. It's interesting seeing Chase play the way he is. Maybe the Steelers would actually benefit from dealing Chase. They could potentially get like could get like a second round pick from, I don't know, any of these very wide receiver needy teams. And they could potentially get a little bit more back because he's still on his rookie contract. The thing is I actually think the team itself likes having these stud receivers, right? And primarily playing in the division that they are, they probably are going to need the offensive firepower to keep in games with the Ravens and the Bengals and also the Browns, right? So I just don't know if they're going to do that because so I mean, just trading away Claypool. I mean, but like, so it's going to lead to some frustration. But like, it is weird that the Bucs haven't been able to get it going against mediocre teams.
Yeah, that's a really good point about dealing Claypool because, like, if I were in Pittsburgh's front office, I would know. Like, just look at the success that Pittsburgh has had in drafting these wide receivers, right? Like, most recently, Pickens. We could go, all the way back to Antonio Brown, Mike Wallace. Like this is a sustained level of hitting on these wide receiver prospects. And so if you're the Pittsburgh front office, you have to feel comfortable, and that would be such a good solution, like to trade him and get something salvageable.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Like, you want to salvage some level of value there. Blair, anything else? Do you guys want to talk quickly about what we're hoping to see? We still have a couple of cracker games. We have Cowboys and the Eagles tonight, and Denver at the Chargers. You guys want to talk about what we're hoping to see?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see like to see Jerry Jeudy put up some points. I'd like to see. I guess I'd like to see. Well, I don't know. I'd like to see CeeDee Lamb put up some points.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see or to like hear your take on this, Hasan, because I know you were pretty bullish on the Cowboys, and then you've been right about this Russ's dust take for probably like what 3 years now. Like you've been the champion for this. So I mean, me personally, I'm the Cowboys are a good defense, and I'm interested to see how Jalen Hurts and this new Eagles pass friendly offense will perform against them. That'll be an interesting matchup for them. But the Eagles look very legit right now. And so I'm really excited for them. And then tomorrow, I don't know. I was very, very, very excited for Russ in Denver. I was, drafting different pieces of this offense pretty much everywhere that I could, and it's really blown up in my face almost so far. I'm just hoping that this injury to his lat, is short term and he comes back and is able to, get back on track for the rest of the season. Because, I mean, look, what is this? 4 out of 6 games where we're seeing the Broncos on prime time now, and
Oh God, yeah, just no more, please, for the love of God. Like it's hell. It's hell, right?
Yeah.
Like the Broncos are single-handedly responsible for a massive devastation in fantasy value this year, right? You drafted Javonte, that's an unfortunate outcome. You drafted Melvin Gordon, hoping for something productive. My God, like he was productive, but you probably didn't start him the weeks he was productive, and then when he's like the bell cow, you got nothing. Cortland Sutton, good God, good luck with that. Jerry Jeudy, but we had 1 week. Albert Okwuegbunam, I'm not going to bother learning his name. Running behind Eric Saubert.
Yeah.
Like it's been a true reduction, like the destruction of value. So from that game, I'm really just hoping to see something big from both the receivers, just Sutton and Jeudy. I don't care about anybody else. I just want to see some signs of life on the Chargers side. I mean, the usual suspects, maybe even Spiller being active would be like a sign of life. But that ship sailed. I mean, from the Eagles Cowboys, I'm just hoping for a big game from AJ Brown here. I mean, like, I'm just such an AJ Brown slappy that I just want to see him succeed. And then on the other side, like if AJ Brown's succeeding, I would like for CeeDee Lamb to succeed. But realistically, and you know what, I'm just gonna say it for everyone. I think everyone listening to this show can agree that we do not want to see Zeke as a feature on Sunday Night Football, right?
No.
He still got his like I will say he still got his place. He was actually a pretty savvy 4th round pick, realistically. But all jokes aside, like I really don't want, like I'm not. It's just going to be bad. I do think that Tony Pollard is taking over that backfield, and I want to see a lot more of him tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, I thought that was a given. Otherwise, I would have mentioned it. But yeah, what do you guys think of? My one curious thing is, what do you guys think of Gerald Everett? Like I think last week he didn't have a great game, and a lot has been made of whether this is just happening because of Keenan Allen being out. Do you think this production is sustainable? Do you think he's a tight end we can trust for the rest of the season? And like, would you feel comfortable starting him over, I don't know, guys like, obviously we're starting him now over Dalton Schultz, but like guys like Goddard or Pitts? What do you guys think about that?
Not over Goddard or Shits. No way I could start him over Goddard or Pitts. He's a viable flex in TE premium right there.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, the list of guys that I actually would start over him isn't that long. Pitts is on it. Goddard is probably on it. But that's about where it ends, right?
Hawkinson?
I'd probably start Hawkinson over him.
Yeah, it's actually funny in the fishbowl. Like it's obviously tight end premium, but so I have as my tight end I have Kelsey, and then my two flexes are Hawkinson and Everett, and I've been rolling with that lineup, and it's been pretty successful.
Yeah. I mean, Hawkinson is actually a great example because he's another guy who has had kind of the similar scoring profile where you get the big 2 touchdown week and then the next week you get 0 receptions. So that kind of is, maybe shows you what you should expect from your tight end anyway, in which case this Everett, his week 5 game is not really something to be all that concerned about. All right. On that note, I think we should call it a night. Angad, you are writing Buy Low Report at RotoViz.
Yes.
Where else can the people find you?
Yeah, that's it. My first, I guess, weekly column. So looking forward to continuing to write that and put in a lot of effort, and hopefully give the people some good buy low candidates and sell high candidates.
Awesome.
And then my Twitter handle is at UPPALNIGHT, up all night. I don't post too much, but I will try to be more active.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely check out Angad's work over at RotoViz. He's been doing some great stuff with the buy low, with the strength of schedule streaming app and the other RotoViz tools over there. So it's been a lot of fun reading his stuff. If you are not subscribed already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I don't think it gives you any notifications. It just engineers the algorithm to help us more. And yeah, like and rate and review the podcast channel, all that good stuff. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye.